Good morning. We'll welcome in National College Football Analyst with ESPN, our friend Tom Luginbill. He'll join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Good morning. Welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. I am your host, Bo Bounds, and Tom Luginbill. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I read an article over the weekend on Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons by Justin Williams. Now, I knew he had been homeschooled. I did not realize that started in sixth grade. And I knew he graduated early at 16, as you know, and he's already graduated from Ole Miss at 19. I mean, this isn't the usual path, Tom Luginbill, but Lane Kiffin and Joe Judge love him. We'll see if he's going to live up to the expectations and everything, but he looked great against Georgia. That was kind of a one-off. What do you think about our guy, Austin Simmons?
Well, as I said to you, as we've had conversations about Arch Manning and, other guys that, weren't thrown into the fray right away, and how I think that's a good thing. And I think it helps the development, and it helps accelerate the development when you're not under pressure to do something that maybe you're not ready to do yet. And so I like the way he was brought along. I think that, when you consider the upside, I mean, when you take a guy that's graduated at 16 years old, you're sitting there going, all right, we're not going to play with this guy right away. We didn't have to play with him right away. And now we can grow him up. We can get him in the weight room. We can get him in the meeting room, get him acclimated to being away from home. And as you mentioned, you go from being homeschooled and then you get dropped into Oxford, Mississippi. I mean, holy smokes. I mean, you're talking about culture shock in terms of your social life and how you acclimate to all of that. So, there was probably a lot on that kid's plate, maybe more so than most incoming freshmen, and not just because he was younger, but because he'd had a bit of a different upbringing.
Yeah. And he looks the part, and they believe in him. He didn't get the reps that you necessarily want to get in high school, but Kiffin said in the article, Lugs, I promise I don't mean this in a negative way, but being around it and seeing how much his dad had worked with him, it was like he created a machine. There are some Todd Marinovich elements. Now, some people will take that and go negative. Some will go, some positives. Kiffin understands the implication of invoking Todd Marinovich, according to the article. And he says, again, not in a negative way, just how Austin was almost programmed for this at such a young age. Now, you're from the West Coast. You're from San Diego.
Yeah, I grew up with that whole saga.
Okay, so you remember all that. He had never had a Big Mac, and he was on sports, on the cover of Sports Illustrated, first test tube athlete. Walk us through a little bit of that. And there's a bunch of David Simmons quotes in here that David Simmons basically tells you, he's the greatest player ever, which I get, it's his dad. But I'd like for you to extract the Todd Marinovich part and then continue to, expound on Austin Simmons.
Well, I think that one of the things too with Todd Marinovich, and I remember it like vividly because it became folklore. Like it became almost a story that you couldn't actually believe. You'd say, no, there's no way that, the kid's never had a Big Mac, or he's never had a sleepover. He's never gone to the movies with a girl, and none of the, and by and large, it was all true. But the problem with it was that it sheltered him to the point that he didn't know how to deal with foreign, I guess you could say, types of things in his life that if you were not under that bubble, that you would probably just roll with the punches. And then to have the pressure of being Todd Marinovich and being such a high profile recruit and being quote unquote, made in the lab and all this and that, like, how is he ever supposed to meet all of those expectations, And, to me, I actually thought that it led to all of the off the field problems that he had throughout his college career and into his NFL career, because it's almost like being let out of a cage, right? I mean, you're all the stuff's being thrown at you. It's sensory overload, and you're the quarterback at USC, and that magnifies everything. And what are you expecting this young man to do when he has not experienced any of these types of things in society before? So are we saying that, I don't think the situation with Austin Simmons has too many parallels to the Marinovich thing, because I think in today's, Marinovich was pre-internet,
right,
pre-social media. Really, even, the only coverage he would have gotten would have been print publications and local television coming to practice or seeing a game. But now there's only so much you can shelter, kids from these days. So I think that Austin has probably been a little bit more reasonably brought up, no matter how much he's been, tailored to be something, but he's been exposed to things. Let's just say that.
Right. Okay. And the Southern Cal program was not run well at that time, and the culture wasn't there. One thing we know about Lane is he has grown up, figured it out, and become a top 10 coach in college football, and they've got everything buttoned up there. How crazy is this that he's already graduated from Ole Miss at 19 years old, Luke?
I know. Well, listen, it's amazing how much with summer school, because, these scholarship athletes now, it's year round. Yeah. So you might be able to sneak in 2 summer sessions during the summer and, bang out another 12, 15 hours in between your fall and your spring semester. And if you really want to do it, you're probably going to take 18 hours your spring semester. You can rapidly accelerate getting a degree now, more so than you ever could before. And there's online classes. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't have any of this stuff. I remember, so I played 4 straight years. I did not redshirt, and I graduated in 4 straight years. And at that time, in the mid '90s, that was an accelerated rate. Like, to be able to actually get done in 4 without redshirting, that didn't happen.
Yeah, everybody almost
yeah, everybody.
I remember like Cheryl and Tuberville years, for example, when I was in college.
Yeah.
Damn near, Luke's, everybody, even really good, highly recruited guys, almost everybody redshirted during that time.
I remember when Marshall Falk was a phenom as a true freshman, and that was 1991, right? Nobody was playing as a true freshman, let alone dominating college football.
Right.
Like that just wasn't happening. And now, obviously, it's more the norm than the exception. But academically, the progress that you can make now with summer sessions and online classes, it's ridiculous how fast you can get done. That's why I always say there's no excuse. You may not like school, and heck, I didn't like school, but it's a necessary evil. It's a means to an end. So just get through it,
right?
Fight through it. There's no excuse if you're a scholarship athlete today to not leave with a degree. There's zero excuse with that.
No, good grief. They've got everything you need around you. All these academic centers and so on. And you're right, all the online classes. We're visiting with Tom Luginbill with ESPN. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We've got the passing of the torch in Oxford. Jackson Dart had an unbelievable career. 3 years, they won big. First-round pick, New York Giants. Lane Kiffin and Joe Judge loved him. Now they have Austin Simmons. And they love Austin Simmons, 6'4", athletic, left-handed, dual sport, guy, but dropped baseball in 2024 just to focus on football, and it's virtually impossible this day and age to play both. Hell, it was extremely difficult back when Lugs and I were growing up, and Frank Thomas and Bo Jackson and some other players would do it, Dion. So what do you make of? What are your expectations for him in year one? They lost a lot of guys. They lost Trey Harris and and Jordan Watkins and a lot of dudes. And I'm not saying they don't have talent, but they lost like 38 guys because they built up for 3 years, and they did it right. They built up for 3 years for last year. I mean, what are your – I know they're going to be good, but what are your expectations? And also, one more thing I think he's got going in his favor. Nobody's really talking about him because you've got Arch Manning. You got Lagway at Florida, and whenever Florida starts to figure it out, the media likes it, and I don't blame them. They're the biggest brand in the league, along with Texas, I think. You got Nussmeier coming back, and I guess Gunnar Stockton's getting some. Anyway, you've got some other guys who are grabbing the headlines both this week in Atlanta and during the offseason. I think that kind of plays in Kiffin and Austin Simmons' favor. How do you see it, Luke?
Oh, absolutely. You got John Mateer as well at Oklahoma.
That's right.
You got Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. Let all the attention be placed on them. And I'm not saying you try to shelter Austin Simmons, but his time's going to come to get a taste of that. But it doesn't mean that it needs to be overload. In fact, I think it's probably a positive for him to have good, proven guys coming back in the league. And listen, there's going to be enough pressure on him anyway after you replace Jackson Dart. As you just mentioned, you got a lot of departures from the roster that was built over the last few years to build very, very good football teams. But I do like, Caden Lee, a wide receiver. Zach Harrison Wallace comes over from Penn State. Deshaun Stribling, I've actually seen him play in person. He comes over from Oklahoma State. There's some good targets around him. Now, you're going to have a bit of a rebuild in the offensive line. And obviously you're going to have new face at tight end. Daquan Wright comes over from Virginia Tech. But left tackle Diego Pounds, probably fit in nicely. But it's not just going to be about Austin Simmons. It's going to be about all the pieces around him coming together to help him maximize his development.
Yeah. We're visiting with Tom Luginbill, who played quarterback at Georgia Tech, been with ESPN for 20 years. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show. Austin Simmons is QB1 in Oxford. Lane's been on a heck of a run with Matt Corral and Jackson Dart. He inherited a great one and then recruited Dart from Southern Cal, and he had an unbelievable career. Now the next guy is Austin Simmons. Kiffin in the article said, and I quote, I actually said to Coach Saban on the phone the other day, just in terms of composure, he compares him to Tua, who Kiffin recruited and coached at Alabama. He goes on to say, Austin is just calm, really, really calm. We talk a lot with our quarterbacks that when emotions go up, decision-making goes down. Did you find that, Luke, when you started in college at QB?
No question. And I think with the younger the quarterback, everybody talks about managing the game. I think it's more about managing your emotions. Because it's very difficult not to get caught up in the highs and then, unfortunately, get stuck in the lows. And if you are what I call a yo-yo player, up and down, up and down, up and down emotionally, your performance is going to be up and down physically. So I think it's the maturity of the poise and the composure. Some younger guys have it. Some guys develop it. Some guys get it through the live bullets flying by, and they just have to kind of play through the rough parts, and then they settle in. But, a guy like Tua obviously had it at a very young age. Bryce Young had it, I think, at a very young age. I would argue that Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels didn't have it until later in their career.
Yeah.
And everybody's different. Everybody matures at a different rate. Everybody handles things at a different rate. But there's no question that handling your emotions and managing those emotions have a direct impact on productivity.
Tom Luginbill talking Lane Kiffin and QB1 Austin Simmons going into 2025. A little bit different schedule this year for Ole Miss. They started with their 4 non-cons last year and blew everybody out. And then were upset at home in one of the wildest, weirdest games against Kentucky. Never in a million years did I think Kentucky at 1-7 would beat Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin and Pete Golding. Still had a good year, but could have had a great year. Could have won it all if they'd have gotten in. this year a little bit different. They go to Kentucky week 2, which you never know, even though they're not good on offense, and Arkansas at home week 3. Point is, they will place Austin will play some SEC teams early, and we'll see how that looks. So we just had a listener ask Tom a follow-up on the Penn State and Oklahoma State transfers. All right, so you referenced 2 guys that Kiffin and crew, Billy Glasscock's his GM up there, Kiffin and crew were able to bring in. How would you – can you comp them? How good are these guys? Are they in the Trey Harris vein, another receiver that may come to mind? Tell me more about the Penn State, Oklahoma State transfers, Luke's.
So you basically have a combined over 30 starts at wide receiver between Wallace and Stribling. So you're bringing in some experience. Wallace is a senior. Stribling's a senior. To me, it's hard to sit there and say, okay, are they going to be Trey Harris? But what you can say is that they're built very similar to Trey Harris. They're both bigger guys, about 6'2", 200 pounds. So I think that, and then they bring, again, some playmaking ability. They've proven. And I think that's the thing is when you bring guys over in the transfer portal, it's not always about getting the flashy, high-profile name of what the guy was as a recruit when he came out. It's about turning on the tape and seeing, is this guy better than what we currently have, and can he improve our roster? And so guys like Billy Glasscock, Lane Kiffin, the staff, whoever it is that's sitting down watching that tape, they felt these guys were an improvement. So that in and of itself should tell you something.
Yeah, no, they've crushed it in the portal, and we'll keep an eye on those guys early, mid, and late and see what all they do. Let's switch gears here to Hugh Freeze. We're visiting with Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN, started at Georgia Tech at quarterback. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. This is 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Okay, so people love to beat up on Freeze. And the big brouhaha, and I think it's media's looking for something to go big on. Maybe this is going to carry the day in Atlanta this week. I don't know. I don't need another NIL conversation, but it's house settlement. We're going to, I'm sure we'll hear all that for the next 4 days. But so they're ranked 86 in recruiting. I look at it like this. When he came out at this ambush invitational, I guess they raised a bunch of money for recruiting at Lake Martin. Because whether you like him or not, he knows how to coach football. He made the mistake at QB, but I think they've got it figured out now with Jackson Arnold. He said, we're going to be really good at wide receiver. We're going to be really good at defensive line, and we're going to be much better at quarterback. I look at their schedule. I expect them to knock down an 8-4 record because Durkin can get it done on the other side of the ball. Do you look at this as much to do about nothing, or how do you see this with the big story of Freeze not recruiting well, even though he's knocked down back-to-back top 10 classes and he knocked down the number 8 portal class this past year, Luke's?
I think he's under such a tremendous microscope that anything he does outside of that building is labeling him as not being a hard worker and not doing what he should be doing. So every time he plays golf, every time he's at Waffle House, every time he's driving from here to there, the perception is he's not working at it, and everybody's lapping us, and we're falling further and further behind. And the problem is he's brought a lot of that on himself, right? And so, to me, listen, are you recruiting well at the high school level right now? No, they haven't done a very good job right now at the high school level. Are you being able to close that gap with the transfer portal? Yeah, I think that they have. And I agree. I mean, bringing Eric Singleton over from Georgia Tech, huge pickup. I mean, that was a huge pickup. Obviously, the freshman receivers last year were high school kids. They did a great job there. So all of the focus is on this particular class. So while everybody wants to go after him for that, all that does is add more pressure for them to win on the field. And, you know, in my opinion, like, Baylor's going to be a pretty good football team, That's a tough game. You're on the road. You cannot lose that game.
No.
And then you can't, in my opinion, if you're going to make the inroads and you're going to make the improvements, I don't think you can lose to Oklahoma or Texas A&M. And they play them back to back. Because then coming down the pike, you've got Alabama and Georgia remaining on the back half, with Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt wedged in between there. So I don't think there's much room for error. I agree. I think the quarterback position is going to be greatly improved. I think they're going to be pretty darn good on defense. Wideouts are really good, but they got to start beating people. And,
right.
And that's the bottom line. And then you start doing that, nobody's talking about whether you're playing golf or not.
That's right. They counted how many times he played golf from June.
Crushing him.
I mean, he's a scratch golfer. He's a great golfer. I remember all that when he was playing. He would play in alumni tournaments and stuff around here. We'd broadcast from him, and I think he's a phenomenal athlete growing up, and he's a scratch golfer. But somebody counted. I don't remember what it was. It was like 18 times he played golf from June 1 to June 25th, and that's they were blaming that on why they had not recruit. They're nuts down there, but it's what drives them to win and not get crushed by the Bama shadow. Like, there is some good – their commitment quotient and their craziness has kept them pretty damn good and relevant to withstand the tidal wave of Coach Paul Bear Bryant and Nick Saban.
No doubt. There's no question. But it's also what makes the job so tough, because they're so hungry to – and that's why, that era of Tommy Tuberville at Auburn – I mean, he owned Alabama.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they had a run there, and then they haven't had that since. And Gus Malzahn got him a couple of times, and guess what they did? They fire him. So it's like, at some point or another, man, there's got to be some level of appreciation.
Oh, that's what I want to do next week. I want you to weigh in for 2, 3, 4 minutes on that's just wild that Gus left a head coaching job at Central Florida to be the offensive coordinator under an offensive-driven coach or specialty under Norvell. That you just don't see that happen in the game that we like to cover. Hey, thanks for jumping on early this week. The Austin Simmons stuff was fantastic. I thought the article was fascinating. That his dad's quotes and even his quotes and Kiffin's quotes were all interesting, and I can't wait to see what plays out here. Have a good week, my man. We'll talk next week, hopefully.
All right, brother. You too.
I may be coming to Charlotte. All right, see you. Tom Luginbill, National College Football Analyst with ESPN on the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. He joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is Out of Order.
Live in the studio.
It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
Good morning. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
I'd kick his ass out.
We're brought to you by Kessler Prime and the Renaissance. Amazing steaks, unbelievable bourbon selection, including award-winning Elijah Craig bourbon. Beautiful old-fashioned or Manhattan. And Wine Spectator recognized wine list since like 2001, KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Bo, what article were you referencing on Austin Simmons? I was referencing the article in The Athletic that I read over the weekend. Ole Miss QB Austin Simmons was uniquely built to be an SEC starter, but is he ready? He was homeschooled starting in 6th grade, graduated high school at 16, signed with Ole Miss, has already graduated at Ole Miss at 19, and kind of a child prodigy by his dad, David Simmons, who is quoted several times in the article, along with Austin and Lane Kiffin. It's a fascinating read of homeschooling and training under his dad, David. He earned his bachelor's degree from Ole Miss in May and is set to begin his third season of SEC football as others his age are just starting college. Because most kids are held back that want to play sports. I mean, the big thing now is to hold your child back.
Absolutely. Get him 1 year, get him an extra year on him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's smart.
Yes.
If you know you're going to play at the next level, it's smart.
Right.
Have zero problem with it.
So
what do you hold
the
them
big
back?
thing is to hold kids back in like 7th or 8th grade, sometimes earlier if they're a real late birthday.
Right.
You know, if they're born at a certain time, you do that. Sometimes you repeat kindergarten twice.
Right.
So that they're not the youngest in their grade. And
is it better to hold them back or to just start them late?
I think you'd rather go ahead and get them in.
Yeah, go ahead and
to kindergarten or whatever you're trying to do.
And hold them. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
And with so many two-parent families working, you're going to get a kid in school earlier than you did 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Jake Cook was JB Middleton. Jackson, will you pull up kind of the rounds? Let's go through who all was selected. Jake Cook from Southern Miss, 81st. Josh just texted me. Thank you for the reminder. I appreciate it. I saw the pick last night. That was super cool. JB Middleton went early. Mississippi State hit by the draft. I'll have to check Ole Miss. And we'll see what happens today. I mean, Bianco's been dealing with this forever. Brian O'Connor's been dealing with this forever at UVA. And when you sign really good players, you're going to lose some, and every now and then you're going to get some.
That's right. Landon Harmon go as well, 3rd round.
I saw that.
80th overall to the Nationals.
Okay. Signee for Mississippi State?
Out of East Union High School.
East Union High School.
I'm assuming that's in Union.
Okay. I've been to Union. And now, for some reason, my life has gotten to a point where I drive down through East Central Community College all the way down to get to Laurel to hit 59 to hit Hattiesburg to go. I've just been making that. I'd never made it, or maybe I had once in my life. Now I've made it like 8 times. It's nothing to it. It's a pretty little drive down the back roads from Philadelphia when I'm leaving Pearl River Resort to hit Laurel and then get to Hattiesburg and do shows, whether we were doing Spring Street Cigars in Hattiesburg or like going to Bay St. Louis a couple weeks ago for our deal down there. But yeah, it's
that Boonville area.
Boonville. All right.
Just south of it, just east
Talk to me.
of New Albany.
No way.
Just west of one of my favorite places in the state.
Where?
Guntown.
Well, that's where I went to the Zeno Davidoff dinner for Spring Street Cigars a couple of months ago. This guy has an unbelievable piece of property in Guntown, Mississippi. Or right past Guntown, excuse me. And maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and they rent it out for, it's kind of rolling hills. It is beautiful. He's got this unbelievable outdoor area where we had the dinner. And that was when John and them brought in Grit from Oxford to come over because they had done it the year before.
Right.
And they catered it. Grit from Oxford, that's in Taylor. Mm-hmm. They came, and the couple who owns that restaurant are two of the sweetest, coolest people in the world. They were there on site. I mean, they had a bunch of employees there too, but they cooked an amazing meal. We smoked Davidoff cigars and just had a big time. So I was just in that area, in the Guntown area. How about that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. And we've got our Oxford Davidoff dinner coming up at Grit July 22nd, which is next week. That's what I have to do for the people. I have to go up there. I have to eat an amazing, by the way, that was one of the, as an appetizer, they just took a whole table, this beautiful wood table. I don't know what kind of wood, but it was gorgeous. Right when you walked in, this table was just a whole charcuterie board. And the table's like 8 feet long by, I don't know, it was big. And then they had this tower, it was charcuterie board
towel.
all around it, but it was also a tower.
Nice. That's nice.
It was heaven.
I like that.
And so yeah, I'll be in Oxford. If Austin Simmons needs any tips or Lane, I'll be there next week.
I'm sure they'll call. Maybe need a 3-step drop and teach them.
3-step drop.
Show them what it's really about.
Pump fake to the tight end.
Yeah.
And always throw it deep.
Always.
Okay? I mean, let's just be honest. Act like you're checking down and let it rip. Okay?
Somebody will catch it.
4 verticals. That's my play.
Yeah, I mean, that should be the
run to the end zone.
I have no problem with running 4 verticals every play.
I'll get the ball to you.
Yeah. And then, checking down from there. All you got to do is run 4 verticals and run a slant.
That should be a slogan on our show. Never check down.
Oh, yeah. You shouldn't check down. Unless the tight
even though
open.
It is one of the smartest
ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's
incredible.
Y'all know I kind of read from the book of Leach and
Dude, check them down.
I mean, what he and Mummy did with the mesh route and everything else. But
I love it.
I'll never forget what Leach told me. It was almost like in a nonchalant way. We were talking briefly, and again, you did not talk football with him.
Good.
Somehow something, and he went, "Oh, at the high school level, you just run crossing routes."
It's literally
right. He said they can't cover.
No.
That was it. That was his thing, and then he went on, and I think he picked up his beverage, sipped on.
Easy.
That's it. He
slants.
Basically, his premise on he was like 10th and 11th. Sometimes seniors can, but for the most part, 10th and 11th graders can't guard that.
No,
and I can't blame them. They're trying to figure out what the hell.
You don't even have to screen them or pick them. You just go.
Hey, the Golden Moon Casino text line is 601-885-3776. 601-885-3776. Brought to you by the super cool sportsbook inside the Golden Moon Casino on the property of Pearl River Resort. Good morning. We are the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're brought to you by the Bacon Mac and Cheese. Bacon Mac at Two Brothers in Starkville. It's National Mac and Cheese Day. I'm good with that. I had some at Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue. Jackson couldn't believe it. I actually ordered it with a blue plate. Did I get their smoked chicken or hold on. I can't remember, but I ate some mac and cheese, and Jackson was blown away at lunch. I love good mac and cheese. I'm not going back to the crappy mac and cheese out of the box anymore because now restaurants have made it a delicacy. They made it an appetizer. You can get lobster mac and cheese at steakhouses around the country. Philip M's has it. The bacon mac, Kraft mac and cheese in 1984, you didn't know any better, and then you realized it was garbage. But I mean, at 10 years old, you thought, okay,
everything.
Right. But now you have places like Barton Dinkins at Two Brothers, who's one of the most talented dudes, pitmaster, and we'll call him Chef Dinkins.
Nice.
His bacon mac is insane.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Wendy will grab a fork and reach over and at least get a bite. She didn't do that. The bacon mac at Two Brothers is amazing.
Yes.
Now people are doing pork belly. Of course, bacon, among other amazing things with mac and cheese. So we've made it an appetizer, we've made it an entree, and then we've made it a delicacy as a side.
Absolutely. You got to know that when Chick-fil-A picks it up as a side, something's happening.
I cannot believe you just referenced Chick-fil-A like it's some kind of culinary.
Chick-fil-A's mac and cheese is fire.
Whatever. I've never had it.
Oh, come on.
So
good.
Congratulations to Jake Cook. Congratulations to all the players that are tied in any way, shape, or form to the state of Mississippi who were drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. Jake Cook went to the Toronto Blue Jays, too. Evidently, that scout was scouting heavy around here, right? You saw that with the Milwaukee Brewers several years ago with Mississippi State players. Yep. We had him in studio, actually. I should be able to remember his name, but I can't remember.
That's cool.
But we had him in studio, and he had drafted several players. And then Stephen Head came on the show, who was an incredible baseball player at Ole Miss and at Hillcrest. And he talked about being a scout for the Dodgers and obviously coming through here and so on. And they picked up a Mississippi State player last year. In fact, Stephen texted me and was like, we love him. I have to remember who it was. Because it wasn't Lowe. Lowe went to Seattle. And I don't know where Cal Steven went, but I had to think that through. Anyway, J.B. Middleton, Jake Cook off the Southern Miss team. Jackson mentioned who went number 8 for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Joe.
So you're looking at $7 million, maybe even more. Who knows? I think the slot technically was 6.8. A lot of guys get way more than that at that spot.
Well, he's got all the chips, right? He's got the chips.
He does because
it's call. He can go to school.
That's exactly right. He's got leverage.
Yeah.
You're right. So when you have another year or multiple years of eligibility, you do. When you don't, you don't. And like Jake Mangum had no leverage.
No.
But now, the rookie minimum in Major League Baseball is what, $760,000? I think they get paid $4,000 a day to be in Major League Baseball. Jackson and I looked it up last week. So every day that he's in the majors as a rookie, and again, they run the numbers all kinds of different ways, but we'll just go with this. It's $4,000 a day, roughly. Yeah. Not bad work if you can get it.
Just stick around. What are we at? We're at mid-July. I told you 2 months ago when it all happened.
Yep.
He would at least be there till mid-July. And if he surpasses anything in mid-July, that is obviously a success regardless, but man, that's big time. He's going to surpass it.
And he got hurt and came right back. And that made me real nervous. And I'm very happy for him, and I'm happy for all these guys. J.B. Middleton out of Southern Miss.
Yeah.
And all the players who, now you got the minor league baseball system. And
Time to grind.
Yeah,
Here it
riding the
comes.
bus, baby. Like
It is
somebody
what
like
it is.
Mangum couldn't get enough of it. I mean, he
Sure.
just was. I never forget talking to him last fall. We went to dinner, and then we went to Two Brothers for lunch twice while he was there because he lives in Starkville basically the whole time. But he came in to the country club and we did a Q&A with him and Tanner Allen. And I was talking to him, and most people would be down that they had not been called, that they had had so much success at the minor league level and hadn't been called up. It didn't faze him. He was like, no, I'm going back. I'm all in, and I'm doing what I have to do. And he gets called up the first week of the season, literally.
Yeah.
I mean,
Second game.
He took the news again that he didn't make the squad. Somebody gets hurt, and was it game 2?
Game 2.
Game 2, he's called up because he jumped on the air and told us about being on the road. He was playing for the Durham Bulls, but he was somewhere in Virginia. And remember, the guy had to drive him to the Uber. He talked about the Uber conversation of 2.5 hours, and eventually got his stuff and flew down to Tampa, and all the rest is history. And so now these guys, JB Middleton from Southern Miss, Jake Cook from Southern Miss, now, they'll go from
Airfare.
Southern Miss to minor league baseball. How about that?
JoJo Parker's going to get $8 million.
$8 million. Shortstop?
Whatever you want him to be.
I guess so.
He's what he is. That he is a really, really good ball player.
Yeah.
And his brother is too.
Heck yeah, he is.
His brother will be on the way in the next, I imagine, today. What round are they? I have no idea what round they're in. I know they're probably compensatory.
They did 3 rounds.
So there's 3 rounds, then compensatory, I think.
I don't know if they already did those in between, that in between stuff.
Yeah. Why do they do? What's the point?
If anybody can make up it's like your HOA.
Yeah.
If anybody can make up a bunch of rules, it's baseball.
I swear they're so good at it.
I'm serious.
Bud Selig probably.
My God, I mean, if they can make up all this, I mean, it was like reading through, how long it is till you're up for contract, and they hold your rights forever.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy because if you make it and you're good, then you get a guaranteed contract.
Yeah, but
which is not what I recommend. The reason why the NFL is so good is the overwhelming majority of players are fighting for their life every year.
Right.
There's some guarantee, but a lot of times when you read and you see on the ticker that it's a 3 or 4 year deal or 5, it's not. But MLB, you'll get a guy late. I mean, he'll have made it and finally kind of made it again, and then he'll get at 31, he'll get a 7-year deal, and it doesn't make any sense.
None.
For $240 million. And the NBA is the same way. But we'll see how it looks today for our teams in the state, Mississippi State, and Brian O'Connor, and Ole Miss, and Mike Bianco, and Christian Ostrander, and the Southern Miss to the top Golden Eagles. National Mac and Cheese Day. Where's your favorite place? Restaurant, bar, grill that has mac and cheese. Let us know. 601-885-3776. The Bacon Mac at Two Brothers in Starkville, Mississippi. Almost illegal. Barton Dinkins and the crew at Two Brothers and Older Brother doing a great job. Grab and go breakfast sandwiches from Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. Grab and go breakfast biscuits, breakfast sandwiches, Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. Grab and go breakfast every morning. Of course, you can go to lunch, eat lunch there, blue plates. And they also have grab and go, which is nice for me. Actually, it's awesome. Grab and go barbecue sandwiches and salads and everything else. All at Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're live in the Bank Plus studio.
Look, BYU is hard to profile because they got so many 29-year-olds that are married with kids on that team.
Still one of the best drops by Dave Bartu. I mean,
look, BYU is hard to profile because they got so many 29-year-olds that are married with kids on that team.
So you play for, sometimes you play for 2 years at BYU and then you go on a Mormon mission for 4 and then you come back and, you know, you're 24 or 25 and dude, physically, it's a whole different deal.
Busting heads.
Yeah.
You should be.
I'd kick his ass out.
Like, I can't imagine that happening to, like, someone who's, like, really, really, really good. Like, cause, like
Taysom Hill, who was from BYU?
Yeah, but Taysom he wasn't laying lumber like that. He was playing very good football. Don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about, like, on the defensive side for some reason. Like, because, that's where the physicality comes more into it, right? If you're if you're older and you're, oh my gosh,
it's physical on both sides of the ball.
Oh, you're playing. It's more physical on the defensive side of the ball. It's way more physical.
I don't agree. I think offensive linemen are just as physical as other people on the defensive side of the football.
Sure, but then you move past the lines, and then it's more physical for them, right?
So you just threw out the offensive line.
Say lines are the same. Defensive line, offensive line, okay, they're the same. But then you look at the skill position on the other side. You got to be more physical. On the defensive side
I think you've got wide receivers actually today that are. We have witnessed a shift to where wide receivers are bigger than DBs.
Sure.
And tight ends are monsters and athletic, and they can run over linebackers and strong safeties too.
Tight end, I forget about.
And now quarterback. I mean, when I was growing up, quarterbacks were not as big. I mean, now, you know, Jackson Dart and Dak Prescott could lay you down. So could Nick Fitzgerald. Somebody was posting some stuff on Bits over the weekend, and it was a A&M game where he broke free and he was about 20 yards down the field, and the safety thought that he wanted some. He didn't.
Trucked him.
He didn't. 6'5", 225 pounds. He put that knee right there on that chin. Boom.
Big old boy.
Yeah, that's a good way to get a concussion.
No doubt.
Greg Sankey already with the mic drop this morning.
All right. With Greg.
So, you know, Sankey is how do I say this? You know, he's when he's talking about the different things in collegiate athletics and the disruption and what they're going through as far as the house settlement, NIL and portal and budget, and how much can you allocate to this team and that team, and where does this go, and how many teams do we need in the college football playoff, which they still haven't decided.
Yeah, right.
Which is incredible that they just haven't gone ahead and officially said it's 16.
Right.
But they're still arguing on the format. And the Big Ten and SEC are going to get what they want at the end of the day. But Sankey's mic drop early from Atlanta, he's on the podium right now, and he said, and I quote, "For all of you that like to speculate about a super conference, welcome to one." That's pretty awesome right there.
Dang.
And, you know, he's sitting there thinking, we ran the show in March Madness. We had 2 teams in the Final Four in Florida and Auburn. Florida won it. Just had an SEC team win it in baseball. Again. This goes back to years and years now. And football wasn't bad with Georgia and Tennessee and Texas making the college football playoff. Okay. It wasn't what people expect every year, but that's He's getting feisty early. Let me quote, and I quote again, Greg Sankey, for all of you that like to speculate about a super conference, welcome to one.
I like that.
I do too. Greg Sankey on the podium right now in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. I've been there. It's a really cool Hall of Fame in downtown Atlanta. They did a superb job building it out. It's cool. It's interactive. Now it's very modern, interactive. That's what people want today. It's not the museum that you walked in 1985. You know,
walked around and looked at stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. Ole Miss and Mississippi State both represented in there. So it's nice. Let's go through the deal. Brian Kelly, first one on the stage.
All right.
And a few minutes here, an hour.
He'll say something dumb.
He could. There's a chance. Players that he brought, Garrett Nussmeier for LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Linebacker Whit Weeks. Talking about a player.
Big dubs.
He got hurt. He's coming back, right? Wide receiver Chris Hilton, who they're raving about. Detillier talked about him I don't remember when because we have him on every week. But so Brian Kelly will hit the stage at 9:25. Then Shane Beamer.
All right,
Shane Beamer. How about that?
Shane.
And he'll have Lenore Sellers, quarterback, QB1, who there are more and more people who believe that Lenore Sellers is the best quarterback in the SEC. You're picking your poison. These are all very talented players, but Lagway at Florida, really good. Arch Manning's going to be really good. Nussmeier. That was just year one. Think about how much better Jackson Dart got from his sophomore year starting to his senior year starting. So think about that. But Beamer will be on the stage at the podium. Ole Miss Lane Kiffin at 12:30 today. So you can have lunch at Burgers Blues Barbecue. You can have lunch at Martin's in Livingston. You can have lunch at Fleetway Market, and you can watch Lane Kiffin at 12:30. Now, Lane will definitely say something newsworthy.
Right.
He will have Austin Simmons with him, who we talked about earlier with Tom Luginbill, and we referenced the article on theathletic.com, which was a good piece over the weekend. He'll have wide receiver Caden Lee, who Lugs mentioned in the 7:30 segment, and he'll have linebacker TJ Daughtery. Yeah. And then late this afternoon, not late, 2:20, Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee Motors will join, and he has QB1 Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
And then DB Martell Height and athlete Randon Fontenay.
Yeah. Give me Pavia as the one who makes the bet, who gives us the best sound bite here.
Diego,
because he has the chips
he
here.
didn't hold back.
Right.
A few weeks ago on a podcast, he basically just absolutely crushed Alabama and Auburn.
He should.
And he was like, I own the state of, I'm
Dig
paraphrasing. I own the state of Alabama.
Dig in.
Yeah.
It may never happen again in that lifetime of that
That's
program.
right.
Dig in.
Let's see.
I don't care what happens this year.
No, you're right. I mean, they had a fantastic year last year.
I mean, his legacy is cemented. I mean, obviously he can go up, but he can't
and
go
he's
down.
Making $1 million at Vanderbilt, or $1.5 million. I don't know where they landed with it.
I mean, he could fall flat on his face and still have.
He won't though.
No,
he's too good.
No, yeah, he is.
At Bama, they play October 4th at Bama. That's a revenge game for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
What if though?
And they host Auburn. Hugh Freeze doesn't need to lose that game in Nashville in that stadium. I know they've done a little add-on, but it's still it's a D3 stadium.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Diego Pavia, maybe he'll say something fun.
I mean, how do you not if you're him?
That'd be
right?
awesome, man.
But you have every bit of right to.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there hadn't been a quarterback at your school that's ever had the right to do this. To go up there. Cutler didn't have the right to do this. Go up there and do that.
Who?
Cutler. What do you have? I mean, how many good years did Cutler have? Was it?
Well, that wasn't on Cutler.
No, I know.
He was unbelievable.
Sure, but
they didn't.
But they never had.
They were not well. What was that? Bobby Johnson. I mean, good hell. That so they started off 5-0
Yes.
1 year under Jay Cutler and went into Starkville.
Died.
And believe it or not, Sylvester Croom, I think I've got this right. Vanderbilt was 5-0. And they go into Starkville and they lose. And I don't think they won another game because I'm pretty sure, I think that was still when we were in 11 game, maybe like one of the last years of an 11-game season, but I may be wrong. Either way, I don't think they punched their ticket to bowl eligibility while I was there and ended up 5-6. Like they lost all, I guess they were so disheartened from losing to Sylvester Croom in Starkville at Davis Wade. I don't think they won another game that year.
Oh, it's that bad?
Yeah.
Come on. You got to get Cutler a bowl game.
I know.
But then, I mean, even when they had they've never, that was the first time they've ever beaten Alabama is what I was getting at. No one has that as a Vandy quarterback. Go up there and dig in. Have at it.
He was talking some trash.
Should.
To Bama and Auburn.
You're never going to have the opportunity to again.
Hey, the text line is 601-885-3776. 601-885-3776. Brought to you by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook on the property of Pearl River Resort. It's a great experience. Games, they got the win totals up. Golf, table games, great steaks at Philip M's. And also recognized by Wine Spectator, Philip M's. PearlRiverResort.com. PearlRiverResort.com.
He needs to wear a shirt that has like the Mount Rushmore deal. Yeah. Mount Rushmore, but it says Mount Crushmore, and just have Freeze's face like twice and then put DeBoer's face on there too.
Wow.
I know there's another one, the president up there. I don't know who you could put up there, but
he outplayed Jalen Milroe.
Put Milroe up there. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Wow.
You got to let them know. I would address them as
Diego Pavia is a thick dude.
Yeah.
Like, he looks kind of like a throwback halfback from, like, Nebraska under Tom Osborne. And back then, when you're running the triple, the wishbone, you got three dudes in the backfield.
Right.
Okay. And Diego Pavia looks like he could be one of John Bond's running backs while Bond was running the wishbone from Emory Ballard, or Tom Osborne running it, or Barry Switzer running it at Oklahoma. Diego Pavia's got from the waist down, that dude will truck you if he gets rolling.
Oh yeah, 210.
Yeah, but he's not, but like
6 foot.
Yeah.
If that,
I would think he's
exaggerated.
5'11".
Yeah.
So he's thick. Now he was wearing way too short of shorts in that podcast.
I'm sure he was.
And we've gone through this thing the last 6-7 years where guys' shorts have gotten shorter, and some guys have taken it too far.
Yes.
Do
better.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Diego Pavia. He looks like he could play at SMU with Eric Dickerson.
They don't want any of this. I don't think Freeze wants any of that.
I don't think they do either.
At Vandy? Didn't Freeze take an L up there when he was at Ole Miss? No. He was at home.
Yes, Freeze lost to Vanderbilt. Is that what you were asking me?
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
But James Franklin was there. He beat them too. There was one year Freeze and Ole Miss opened up with Vanderbilt on a Thursday night, and they won. One of their little running backs who was really good, named Scott, I think, took a ball around the left end, and it was like a 50-yard run, and Ole Miss got out of there with the dub. But yeah, Franklin got Freeze too, or somebody, whoever it was, Nutt, or it all runs together. Vanderbilt got old for as many good teams as Ole Miss had under Nutt and Freeze. Vanderbilt got Ole Miss a lot more than you would have thought.
Yeah.
It was weird.
That's what I'm looking at now.
Talk to me.
And this could be where I'm going with the AI overview here, so you just give it what I
Go
can.
ahead.
But it says Hugh Freeze's record against Vanderbilt as head coach of Ole Miss. He was 3-2.
That's incredible considering he beat Bama twice and had some really big wins.
Beat him.
But Freeze was known for unbelievable highs and unbelievable lows.
Sure.
Yeah.
Isn't that the Ole Miss model?
Yeah. I mean, it was a roller coaster of incredible high, just the highest of the high.
Yeah.
And then the two losses to Vanderbilt, you go what? The loss to Missouri, you go what? And the loss to Arkansas at home on 4th and 26 or whatever it was, you go, or 20, I don't remember, 25 or 26. No, I think it was more than that, but maybe it wasn't. Either way, it was a long way.
Where's that at?
And it was in Oxford.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I could have sworn it was Lafayette.
No.
Good Lord.
It was in, I can see the game right now, and I can see Brett Bielema
on
the field about 10 yards off the sideline and calling the play to go for 2 to win instead of kicking it.
Alex Collins was so good.
And Kim Dichie was right there, but there was a sidestep, I guess. Play before Kim Dichie had sacked him, I think. But they called a face mask, gave Arkansas craziest stuff in the world.
Hunter Henry slinging it backwards to Alex Collins.
Oh, this is cool. Who was it?
Oh, it was Hunter Henry that slung it backwards. Collins was the one that finished with the ball in his hand.
Yeah, Collins. You're talking about the long play.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in a million years. That play may never happen again in football.
No.
You don't throw a ball back like that and an oblong object bounce perfectly to a running back, and then he shuffles down the left side.
I just don't understand. And then he lateraled to Collins and boop.
Do you have the freeze factor drop? It's got to be somewhere in there.
Somewhere.
I mean, we've got to get that because Sun Devil Macy is calling for it, and I guess it was Parrish Alford. He called it the freeze factor, and that's pretty awesome. Hey, let's switch gears. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. We're brought to you by the Armory on Lake Harbor in Ridgeland. For all your firearms, optics, and suppressors, the Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland in front of Kroger. The Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland, beautiful shop, firearms, optics, suppressors, the Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland. Unnamed texter says, Bo, there's a 30 for 30 premiering on July 17th showcasing the Wishbone teams of the 70s. Hell yes. So, Bear Bryant ran it. Well, a lot of people ran it.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Switzer, Osborne. Yeah.
I mean, you had to, right?
Now, a lot of people ran the Power Eye. You had, of course, Emory Ballard ran it here, and at A&M, and he taught Bear Bryant the whole deal. He came over one spring or summer, I guess, 100 years ago. And Osborne, Switzer, there were some others, but we were run heavy back then for the most part. You had your Lavelle Edwards at BYU. You had eventually Spurrier but that was later in 1990 when he was hired by the Gators to open it up. Obviously, they ran it well, too. They're kind of a modern version of what everybody's doing with the Baylor offense, like Heupel and Kiffin. Spurrier would hurt your feelings throwing the football, but they ran it like crazy, too. So it was balanced, but it was big plays like Heupel and Kiffin. And I mean, Levy's running that, too. We'll see if I know he upgraded at running back. We'll see if they upgraded at the offensive line. Ole Miss having to replace 4 starters on the offensive line. They've recruited well and portaled well, but how fast will they be up and running and ready to roll? And even though Kentucky's not good, will Brad White, the defensive coordinator at Kentucky, be able to give a new quarterback in Austin Simmons, although talented, some problems early in the year? So you got 4 new starters on the O-line and a new quarterback going to Lexington. Now, that's where you want to go right now. You either want to go to Lexington or Starkville because those are the 2 worst teams in the league.
Right.
Okay? Those teams are 15th and 16th, depending on the day. I think most people would go, although Michael Bratton out of Nashville picked Mississippi State 15th and Kentucky 16th on his deal. But if you go on the road early with an inexperienced quarterback, you want to go to Kentucky or MSU. Speaking of, what's the first? Oh, Tennessee, somewhat inexperienced QB. I mean, he's played. But MSU, their first conference game will be Tennessee at home. Can they, 5 games in, expose? Of course, he'll have already played Georgia. Joey Aguilar or whatever his name is. They switch. Y'all know that Tennessee and UCLA switch QBs. Y'all remember all that. Damn, Tennessee plays Georgia 2 weeks before they play Mississippi State. You get to see what he's going to do against a talented team, Jackson. Early. The Tennessee QB, the transfer from UCLA. All right, we are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Diego Pavia is awesome. Pavia like Craig James of SMU. Yeah, I mean, Pavia, you could have dropped Pavia as a running back in 1981, 83, 85. I don't think he misses a beat. You know, in that halfback, tailback, fullback, depending on a lot of those guys, if you were the wishbone, you could play all of it. Or I guess in the power I could see him as a fullback. I think he's thick enough. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Guess who we're having next? Josh McCuistion. Soonerscoop.com. I think he's got the latest on Zach Selman. Maybe. Athletic director at Mississippi State. Joe Castiglione stepping down. Who's going to be the leader in the clubhouse? Or who are going to be the 2 or 3, like, on the top of the board? Brad says, Bo, it was Jeff Scott. Had a really long run to get the dub against Vanderbilt that year. I knew it was the last name Scott. He was one of those smaller backs, but really talented. Freeze always had one of those guys. He had Jalen, what's his name after that, who was phenomenal. All right. Josh McCuistion, Oklahoma Insider, coming up next.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m. and this ain't okay show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
All aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Driven by your next X-Mark zero-turn mower at Hartley Equipment. Bad Boy zero-turn mower, Hartley Equipment, or Skag zero-turn mower, Hartley Equipment in Gluckstadt on Church Road. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, live in the Bank Plus studio. We welcome in Josh McCuistion, Soonerscoop.com, Oklahoma Sooner Insider. Joe Castiglione announces 27 years as athletic director with a ton of success. I don't know if this last football hire is, but with an enormous amount of success. Joe Castiglione stepping down. Zach Selman, we know that he is tied to Oklahoma with his dad and his uncles, and he was at Oklahoma when Mississippi State hired him to be the athletic director. Josh McCuistion, will you describe what the Selman family and name, as far as royalty, what that level is like in Norman, Oklahoma?
You know, you and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday, Bo, and I think the easiest way to put it in perspective is Oklahoma has a bronze statue of all their Heisman trophies, everyone ever, and it's just to the east side of the Oklahoma Stadium. The only statue that does not contain a Heisman Trophy winner is the Selman brothers. And it's a trio. It's a statue of all three of them. It is, they really are. They are synonymous with, Oklahoma football and, an era of Oklahoma football in the 70s where Oklahoma was so dominant and so many great teams. And I think it's not just about they were great players, which all three of the brothers were. I think at bare minimum, like second-team All-Americans at one point or another in their career. Leroy went on to be the #1 overall pick of the Buccaneers. He was a great player. Dewey was a great player. Lucius was the oldest, and he was an outstanding player. So there were all these things, but they also have gone on to do things afterward. They went into coaching. They went into, the athletic directing, in the athletic department. So, they've touched sports, and, not just in Oklahoma, but, kind of around the sport in a lot of different ways.
All right, you're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. The show is driven by Hartley Equipment in Gluckstadt on Church Road. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app and the Zone1059.com. Josh McCuistion, Soonerscoop.com. So they're in like the top 2 or 3 families as far as Oklahoma royalty the last 50 years, Josh?
I would say they're on the short list. Because again, it's just so unique. It's not just one guy or a couple, a father and a son. It's 3 brothers, and they're from this little small town out in eastern Oklahoma named Eufaula, and just kind of out of nowhere, you had these 3 brothers that were just legendary players, and it is. And like I said, it's not just about, they're great players. You hear this all the time, Bo, and you hear it, I hear it. They're great guys. They are legitimately, they were all just unanimously great people. Leroy has since passed on. Dewey and Lucius are still with us, but there are, I've never heard anyone come in contact with any of the Selman family. And that, of course, includes Zach, that had any sort of negative review. They are just tremendously kind people.
Do you think that Zach Selman is a top 1, 2 in the top 3 candidates for this to replace Joe Castiglione?
I think he could be. I think that could happen. I don't think that's as we stand right this moment. And I say that because the impression I get, and what they announced during Joe Castiglione's retirement ceremony, was that this was going to be led by Randall Stevenson, who was brought in to Oklahoma's athletic department back in December, like kind of officially. He had some connections. He was AT&T CEO for a long time. So this is a guy that, understands the business world very well. And from what we kind of gathered, it's all preliminary. It's very early. I mean, this is not like Oklahoma's going to make a hire in 3 weeks or anything like that. That's not my expectation. But I do think they want to, let's just use the old business cliche. They want to go a little out of the box on this. That's my impression. I don't think they are just going to go find the best athletic director who has success and has some track record or knows the university in Zach's case or whatever that may be. I don't think that's the first idea. Now, it could come to that point. I could see that in Zach, of course. Like we just talked about, his family is royalty at Oklahoma. He is beloved. I know Joe Castiglione would absolutely, love the Zach Selman hire. That was kind of his right-hand guy his last few years at Oklahoma. So there's a lot that makes sense there. But as it stands right now, I don't think that's the point OU is starting at.
Wow. Okay. Josh McCuistion, Oklahoma Insider, Soonerscoop.com on the Out of Bounds show. So you feel like Randall Stevenson is jockeying or positioning himself to possibly get this job, former CEO at AT&T?
No, not at all. Like, I don't think that's what he wants to do. I think he's kind of taken on a role of almost like a general manager is the wrong thing to say because we all know that's Jim Nagy's role, but just kind of an overseer of a lot of the operations, a lot of the, fundraising, money, things like that I think he is kind of almost – he took the job, and I think the role has grown since he's gotten there. And, again, that's not something I've been told. That's just kind of my impression of watching things and how, again, they're announcing him as kind of the ringleader of this athletic director search. Like, that wasn't anything that we had, an understanding of. So, again, I don't think this is him looking for that position at all. I think he is going to be the one that is searching and kind of dictating where this search may go.
Was Joe Castiglione okay with Randall Stevenson coming in to the athletic department?
That was our understanding. I mean, that was something, and again, Randall Stevenson is a guy that's been around Oklahoma. This is not like a guy that just brought in, like he's a fan, he's invested, like he's a guy that legitimately cares about the school. So it's not like he and Joe just met at the time of his hiring. This is a guy, Joe had known for a while. So I do think there was a comfort level. They're obviously Joe's been around at OU for almost 30 years now as the athletic director. He came in 95, and it is 96. I'm sorry, it was 97. I'm just throwing out numbers now at this point. He's been around for a long time, and there had been rumors at various points that I think Joe's getting near the end. He's about ready to step down, that kind of thing. I wondered a lot if the Lincoln Riley change, if the move to the SEC kind of invigorated him, and beyond that also he didn't want to leave OU in such a time of tumult where so much was happening, there was so much shifting, and obviously not everything is, level ground for OU right now, but I do think he feels like the people are in place to make the right decisions, and of course his input's going to be taken into all of this. I mean, he's one of the most respected guys in the industry. They'll hear what he has to say for sure.
Do you have time for one more quick segment, Josh?
Sure, of course.
Okay, I got some more I want to get to. Josh McCuistion, Oklahoma Sooner Insider, Soonerscoop.com. We're talking Joe Castiglione stepping down after 27 years as the athletic director. Zach Selman is obviously tied to the University of Oklahoma through his dad and his uncles, and there's a lot of moving parts here. So I got a couple more questions for our friend Josh McCuistion. Plus, Ole Miss plays at Oklahoma this year, which may be the first time in the history of the Ole Miss program, which would be the first time in the history of Oklahoma, because last year they played in Oxford, but I don't think Ole Miss has ever played in Norman, Oklahoma. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. One more quick hit with Oklahoma Insider, Josh McCuistion. All right, we are the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Grit Fitness and Training Facility in Flowood. Jay Powell is the new director of baseball operations, World Series champ for the Marlins, All-American at Mississippi State. Unbelievable renovation of a beautiful, beautiful facility. Grit Fitness and Training Facility in Flowood behind Ergon. Jay Powell, the new director of baseball operations at Grit Fitness and Training Facility. Indoor, outdoor, turf, batting cages, pitching mounds, all at Grit Fitness and Training Facility in Flowood. We welcome Josh McCuistion back into the show on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Oklahoma Sooner Insider, Soonerscoop.com. We're talking Joe Castiglione stepping down after 27 years as the AD, and where, what this could mean for Mississippi State and Zach Selman. So did Zach's dad work for Oklahoma for a while, Josh?
Yes, and this is where it gets a little before my time, but yes, I know that I want to say other than Leroy, which is funny because Leroy is always the one that is kind of most synonymous with Oklahoma because of all his on-field success, even in the NFL. I want to say both I know Lucius coached at Oklahoma, Zach's uncle, and I want to say Dewey worked within the athletic department. And I'm a little fuzzy on exactly what that was, but I do believe he had a role at Oklahoma at one point or another.
Okay. And Dewey, Zach's dad, and Lucius are still alive. Do you see them around a good bit? Like game days?
You still see them a fair bit. They're on the sidelines. Obviously, they are. That's something that Brent Venables has done a really good job of bringing a lot of the old guys, the older guard back. That was something that you didn't see a lot with Lincoln Riley, and I don't know if that was by design or what that was, but it was a clear difference from Stoops to Riley and now back into Venables, where it's a little more like the Bob era. So you definitely see those guys around. I want to say the last time I remember seeing Dewey, he was giving a speech, and I can't remember what it was at. It might have been it was one of the unveilings. I almost want to say it was one of the Heisman ceremonies or something. There was something there, and I remember him speaking, and I can't remember what that was for.
Okay. So when we talk about royalty names, Switzer, Stoops, and you would include Selman in Oklahoma, right?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, that is and I think even younger OU fans still they may not fully understand what that means, or understand why those guys are so important, but they know that name has meaning. It carries weight at Oklahoma. So there's no question. What's amazing about them to me is that it's you don't ever get that from them. A lot of guys walk around like I was an All-American and I was great, and those guys, there's a lot of those guys at a place like Oklahoma. But with the Selmans, you get the feeling that I've got two little girls, Bo, and I could walk them up to them and introduce them, and they'd make my daughters feel like they were the only people they ever wanted to talk to. That's just kind of what they're about, what they're like. They're just very engaging and don't kind of have that. I don't know, aura is not really the right word, but just they don't have that image of I'm unapproachable. They just don't feel that way.
That's so awesome. What a credit to golly, because they're all legends, and y'all have had so much success the last 5 or 6 decades. And God, they played under Switzer when they were just roaring and rolling. Good grief, y'all are mowing people down. All right, so here's what I'm picking up from you, Josh, as an Oklahoma insider. You would not be surprised if Selman's in the top 2 or 3, but then you wouldn't be surprised if Randall Stevenson and some others maybe have some other ideas of bringing someone in from the private sector and maybe seeing if they could give this a go. Is that kind of where you're going, Josh?
That's kind of where I'm at. What I think you'll see, because when you talk about top 1, top 2, top 3, whatever, you've got to think those guys get interviews. My guess is because of Zach's relationship with Oklahoma, because of how many people really respect him, like him, care about him, I don't think they would even get that far down the road unless they were pretty sure they wanted him. Like, just to not put him in that situation where he has to go back and, oh, yeah, I interviewed for that, but, it wasn't right for me. Or, like, just not force him to have that conversation.
Okay.
Or to even make that choice.
Here's where I go. Castiglione's going to be the AD emeritus, which means he's going to be looking over someone's shoulder. I read where he's got some special projects. Some people are okay with that. Some people are not. To me, a dude from the private sector would not be okay with that. A Kirby Hocutt, who is far more established and a better, longer resume, been around longer than Zach Selman. I don't see Kirby Hocutt being okay with Castiglione, still being a big piece of the puzzle. But for Zach Selman, not even 40 years old, only 2 years as an AD, I could see Zach saying, hey, I'm okay with you, Joe, wanting to still hang around in a pretty big way for 2 or 3 more years because I want this job so bad and it's my dream job. What is your reaction to that?
No, I think that's a very good point, Bo. Like, because again, that is something where you're right. A lot of people, you see it again to go to the business world where a CEO steps away, but he's going to remain chairman of the board, or there's always these things, and you're like, yeah, but another powerful guy's not going to, he's going to want his hands on the wheel and nobody looking over his shoulder. So I think that's a really good point. And what I wonder about is how much of that is negotiable as far as Joe. What is, what does he want to have? How much of that is completely titular? How does that work? So and again, Joe, loves Norman. I don't expect him to move. I mean, his son actually does some work for us at Sooner Scoop, is a guy that, played football at Oklahoma. There's a lot. It's not just, this guy was here a long time. They are invested in the community. And so I think it would be hard for him to just clearly walk away. But I think if they came to him and said, Joe, we've got the right guy. We really like this guy. And Joe's probably going to be in on some of these interviews. And, or at the very least be getting firsthand information from them. And if he is like, yeah, this is the guy we should hire, something tells me Joe cares enough to be like, I can let go of that, or I can do this, whatever we need to do to make this work, I think Joe would be willing to do. But at the same time, if it is someone like Zach, and Zach goes in and says, hey, man, I'd love to have your input. I'd love to just kind of pick your brain and kind of ease myself into some of these conversations I'm going to have. I think that could be a really natural fit. And you would think more than anybody, Zach would be open to that.
I got 20 to 30 seconds. Will Joe Castiglione have a bigger say or Randall Stevenson? Or could it be
I think it's Randall Stevenson.
Wow.
I do. Yeah. That because they didn't have to say, oh, this is the guy. They did say it. They said Randall Stevens will lead this. He will head this search. So I don't know how you don't take them at their word on that.
Okay. Man, that was great, Josh. Thanks so much. We'll do this again soon. I appreciate you.
Oh, anytime, Bo. Always enjoy it, man.
Josh McCuistion, Oklahoma Sooner Insider, Soonerscoop.com, on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Lunch today brought to you by, how about the bacon cheeseburger with onion rings at Martin's in Livingston? Maybe start off with the cup of gumbo. I like that. Yeah. Bacon, cheeseburger, mustard on the side, come back on the side, onion rings, start with a cup of gumbo, Martin's in Livingston. Good morning. We'll welcome in National College Football Analyst with ESPN, our friend Tom Luginbill. He'll join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Good morning. Welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. I am your host, Bo Bounds, and Tom Luginbill. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I read an article over the weekend on Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons by Justin Williams. Now, I knew he had been homeschooled. I did not realize that started in sixth grade. And I knew he graduated early at 16, as you know, and he's already graduated from Ole Miss at 19. I mean, this isn't the usual path, Tom Luginbill, but Lane Kiffin and Joe Judge love him. We'll see if he's going to live up to the expectations and everything, but he looked great against Georgia. That was kind of a one-off. What do you think about our guy, Austin Simmons?
Well, as I said to you, as we've had conversations about Arch Manning and, other guys that, weren't thrown into the fray right away, and how I think that's a good thing. And I think it helps the development, and it helps accelerate the development when you're not under pressure to do something that maybe you're not ready to do yet. And so I like the way he was brought along. I think that, when you consider the upside, I mean, when you take a guy that's graduated at 16 years old, you're sitting there going, all right, we're not going to play with this guy right away. We didn't have to play with him right away. And now we can grow him up. We can get him in the weight room. We can get him in the meeting room, get him acclimated to being away from home. And as you mentioned, you go from being homeschooled and then you get dropped into Oxford, Mississippi. I mean, holy smokes. I mean, you're talking about culture shock in terms of your social life and how you acclimate to all of that. So, there was probably a lot on that kid's plate, maybe more so than most incoming freshmen, and not just because he was younger, but because he'd had a bit of a different upbringing.
Yeah. And he looks the part, and they believe in him. He didn't get the reps that you necessarily want to get in high school, but Kiffin said in the article, Lugs, I promise I don't mean this in a negative way, but being around it and seeing how much his dad had worked with him, it was like he created a machine. There are some Todd Marinovich elements. Now, some people will take that and go negative. Some will go, some positives. Kiffin understands the implication of invoking Todd Marinovich, according to the article. And he says, again, not in a negative way, just how Austin was almost programmed for this at such a young age. Now, you're from the West Coast. You're from San Diego.
Yeah, I grew up with that whole saga.
Okay, so you